We are just going to go. All right, we're going to go without Facebook Live, and I'll post on Facebook saying we'll upload it later. All right, I'm going to let everybody in and
you can
take it away.
invite them to the room too. Just tell them, hey, come to the room.
All right, I'm going to let everybody in, and I'm going to stop talking now. Take it away when the room is full.
I will. All right, good day. Got a few more people coming in. Oh my goodness, we're moving on to page 3 here. We're having a little difficulty with Facebook, so we may have more today, switching over to YouTube. All right, I think we should get started here. Before I introduce myself, I'm going to sing a little song fragment just to kick us off today. I'm your guest host, and I'm doing this for the first time. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn the mill, singly none, singly none. Welcome everybody to day 748. If my calculator is working. My name is Andy Davis. As you can see, I've led a song or two on the Daily Antidote, but never hosted. I'm very happy to be here today. We have our tech support, Aaron, and we have Hubby Jenkins joining us today, who's no stranger to the Daily Antidote. And I will be your host. And in a minute, I'm going to do some greetings and hellos to everybody. And I think we should just start right off with that. That little song fragment is from the Miners Union, and it says such a great message that I think fits the Daily Antidote. We can't do anything alone. We really need to work with others to accomplish things, and the Daily Antidote is a key part of that structure, I think, in many of our lives. So I'll attempt a little good hello to everybody here. Hello to Aaron, hello to Hubby, Annette and Brian and Arlene too. Hello to Becky in British Columbia and my good friend Al. Hello to Martha and Jenny and Deli, Deborah in Kentucky and Don and the Curly Tops. Hello to Sheila and Dan and Susan, Bob in Tucson and Pauline in UK. Hello to Sarah and Karen and Cricket. Hello to Hoda and Cliff and Lynn. Hello to Christina and to Bob and Bonnie. Hello to Jamie in Victoria, BC. And I'm going to turn my page here. Hello to Carolyn, 748. Hello to Luda and Mark and Trish. Hello to Steve and Michelle and Susan. Hello to Ralph and Kevin in New Hampshire. Hello to Janice and Julie and Jim. Kathy and Ann and Storm, my neighbor. Hello to Jane and Ruth and Elise. Hello to Mabel and her dancing bears. Hello to Anne at Pinewoods, awesome. Hello to Carol and to Pauline in UK. Hello to Karen and Hindi and Loriana. And hello to Bob and LMG. Hello to Bob in Albany. And where am I? Oh, and Kate and Harriet. Hello to Sandy and Fred in Silver Spring. Hello to 8th 52795. Hello to Amos and to Sherry too. I think I got all 3 pages there. So we're all together. My goodness. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce, a friend of the Daily Antidote. Hubby has played with some of the best, Carolina Chocolate Drops, Rihanna Giddens, and takes time out of his life and his day, time away from his bicycle, to come to the Daily Antidote. So, Hubby, what have you got for us today?
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Yeah, I'm gonna go hop on my bike after this and go to a Thai New Year's fair and eat so much Thai food. I'm a big Star Trek nerd, so my bike's name is the Defiant. Anybody gets that reference? We're tight. And the song I picked today is called Hallelujah, I'm a Bum. I'm sure a bunch of people may know it already. Kind of riffing off of Harry McClintock's version of it. And the chorus is pretty simple, and it's after every verse. Goes like this. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. And if you don't know it by the beginning, you'll definitely know it by the end. Hot dog, buddy, let's go. Rejoice and be glad, for the springtime has come. We can throw down our shovels and go on the bum. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. The springtime has come, and I'm just out of jail, without any money, without any bail. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I went to a house and I rapped on the door, and the lady says, bum bum, you've been here before. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I like Jim Hill, he's a good friend of mine. That is why I am hiking down Jim Hill's main line. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I went to a house and I asked for some bread, and the lady says, bum bum, the baker is dead. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Why don't you work like other men do? Now how can I work when there's no work to do? Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Why don't you save all the money you earn? If I didn't eat, I'd have money to burn. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I don't like work, and work don't like me, and that is the reason I am so hungry. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Great job, everybody. Great job.
I think we sounded great. The harmonies were awesome.
I mean, yeah. Handel's Messiah, that's our next one. We're ready.
Now that song, that song has just been in my ears forever, and it has a lot of history, and it goes back. You've got Jim. I like Jim Hill. He's a good friend of mine. Isn't that, what's the reference there?
You know, I knew you were going to ask. I knew whoever was hosting was going to ask me, because that's the one line I don't know. Do you know the answer to this more than I do?
Well, I'm wondering who is the. It's making me think maybe someone can put it in the chat. Some kind of labor organizer. I could be wrong.
I think it's more about the railroad. So this version comes from Harry McClintock, who lived the most interesting man I think who ever lived. He did run away to join the circus and hop trains in parts of Africa, and did all this
I
other
have been
stuff.
corrected. Joe Hill is the person I'm thinking of. And it says here from Jim Hill was the owner of railroads, the Great Northern and Northern Pacific. So I have now learned something today. So thank you all for this collective music history lesson. So Jim Hill was a big railroad boss. And it's kind of funny that this man riding the rails says, references the owner of the railroad. There must have been some kind of major income differential between the two of them.
That's the joke. That's the bit of the song. So it's and I think like the song was also used by the IWW, Industrial Workers of the World, and I think they changed it to the boss. It becomes the boss instead of Jim Hill in the IWW version. Just to show that, like, obviously the workers and the bosses are not friends, blah, blah, blah. We don't have time to get all socialist about it. But yeah, I just like Harry McClintock because he's just a crazy, interesting figure. And he's got this song, and of course, Big Rock Candy Mountain, which he put together from a bunch of hobo songs that he learned from traveling around the country doing that. Yeah.
One day at our church here in Guilford, Vermont, a woman who's grown up on a farm in Vermont told a story from her childhood during the Depression when there were her farm in Guilford, Vermont. It was right by the railroad. And often men, like are referenced in your song there, would get off the train and go up to a farm and see if there was any work to be done and maybe get a hot meal. And she told this story that one day when she was a little girl, this man came over from the railroad, who, as were called in those days, a hobo, and the father, her father, saw the man coming and knew what he was going to ask for was some help, maybe a place to stay, some food. And the father indicated this big pile of wood that needed sawing up for firewood. And she said, the hobo said to the father, "I know you saw me see that wood, but you will never see me saw it."
That's right. I mean, I think you had to be clever to be a hobo. I think
so.
It goes hand in hand. When I was younger, I did like not a bunch, but a fair amount of hitchhiking and bumming around myself. And I had opportunities to go train hopping and didn't take them. Most of the times it's like meeting people who had like one leg or missing fingers. It's like, how'd you do that? And they're like, hitchhike or hopping trains. I was like, you know what? I'll get a ride. I'll stick my thumb out and catch a ride.
Well, the word hobo is sort of like a little bit of a put down, but these were really transient workers who were moving from the potato fields to the apple orchards, to the docks, just going where the work was, and they were really part of the economy, but they were not treated with much respect, but they really were. And there's such people today. This is not just history, this is today. There are folks who just moved from Idaho to California to wherever the work is.
And I'd say that that's something that I learned or maybe appreciated more as I got older. When I was like 20 or whatever and bumming around like that, it was more like, I had a tattered copy of Bound for Glory in my pocket, and what's the John Steinbeck book, like Cannery Row or something like that,
Grapes of Wrath.
No, there's one where it's like about like Mexicans who are like, they're kind of alcoholics, but they're all characters, and they're supposed to represent different knights from King Arthur. And it's like all these vignettes about them, and they're hobos, but like their stories all have these morals and are connected to like Sir Gawain and all that stuff. It's tortilla flats. So I was like into like that kind of stuff and thought about it more romantically, bumming around. And I think like even this song kind of teeters on that too, without, of course, but then of course there's the realism of like, no, these people are having hardships and are economically being oppressed by capitalism. Yes.
Another little piece of history on that song is it's in many hymnals. It's not with those words, but it's with Christian words. So Hallelujah, I'm a Bum is a rewrite of an old hymn.
Yeah, I think the hymn is called Revive Us Again.
Yeah, to revive us again, yeah.
Yeah.
So Is there anything you'd like to share, Hubby, about any new recordings coming out, any shows you're doing or traveling around the country that people should be aware
I need
of?
new recordings. I need new recordings desperately. I should record something new. You inspired me today.
Well, you know, we're
I
taping
don't-
this.
That's right. I don't have any new recordings yet. I'm next week. I will be next week. What day is it? Whatever. In a couple of days, you can check my website. But I'm going to Charlottesville, Virginia, for a gig, and then I'll be at Merle Fest, which will be fun. I have to learn a Grateful Dead song for that gig, actually.
How would
then
people find you in Charlottesville? Who are you singing? Where are you singing? Or for who are you singing in Charlottesville?
I'm thinking of a place called the Front Porch. I'm sorry, I don't remember the date. It's coming up like I think it's Friday.
Jim in New York City says next Thursday. You could hire him as your agent.
There we
He
go.
knows
Thursday.
where you are. Next Thursday.
And then in May, I'm going to be traveling around with some friends of mine, the Downhill Strugglers. Actually, one of them just texted me now, and doing some double bills around the South and stuff for a while. Yeah, so working on it, out and about.
Well, it's now 12:21. Is there? I know we need to go through the song again. I don't think I think if you go through the song again, then I can do our goodbyes. I'm just looking in the chat. Someone has referenced a web page for me called Andy Davis Online that I have never heard of. So you might want to check that out. If that's a real website of mine. There's a lot of Andy Davises out in the world, and we all try to behave to protect each other's reputations. But I'm not aware of andydavisonline.com, so you might want to double check that. People can find out more about me, Aaron, by going to dancingmasters.com, because I call square dances and publish books on dance for children and communities, and you can read about me there at dancingmasters.com. But I need to check out this Andy Davis Online. I might be amazed. Okay, so anyway, I don't see any questions. I see Utah Phillips being mentioned. I believe Utah Phillips used to sing Hallelujah, I'm a Bum.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Al Jolson has a version, or a whole movie, I think, called Hallelujah, I'm a Bum.
Wow. So I love, that's such an important song. I'm just looking to see if we have any other questions.
Well, I know. I saw that Susan G asked me to talk about this picture.
Oh, yes.
And I think she said bring it forward, so it looks dusty now. But let's see. I need both hands, I think. But this is a painting, Henry Tanner. And my connection, what's my special connection to this song, to this picture? I mean, it's an elder teaching a youngin how to play the banjo. I mean, I would say the two things that I think about when I look at this picture are, there's a few things. I have so many emotions about that picture now that you're asking me. But, you know, I grew up not knowing that the banjo was a black instrument. And it wasn't until I was an adult and read it in a book. I remember the moment. I was in the Bronx, had a little bit of a cold. Great apartment, 2 bedrooms, $935 a month, 2 blocks from the subway. And I was just like floored. I was like, wait, the banjo's a black instrument. But that also means, but then that song is probably about, and it just blew my mind. And, immediately set me on this mission of like, I'm going to teach other people. I'm going to make sure other people know that this is a black instrument and like what that means to American music and our identity and like black identity and all that kind of stuff. So
awesome.
Having that there is kind of like a big emblem of that in a lot of ways.
I realized, Hubby, why it meant so much to me when I saw it this morning when we first logged on is my first banjo teacher was Pete Seeger via his famous How to Play the 5-String Banjo instruction manual. And
Sure.
I'm just going to show you all that right there in the front of the book, he put in a black and white photocopy of that painting. And I remember as a teenager finding this book, which is truly one of the classics. The new edition is in blue. Mine was all tattered in red.
Where's mine?
But I remember seeing that picture in that book, and that picture began to just symbolize for me the whole art of teaching. The way that young fella is just wrapped in the arms of his grandfather, picking up the banjo rhythms, and just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, yeah, it's just that painting is very important. There's another series too. I think it's a different artist. It definitely is, but there's one called The Banjo Player and one called The Bones Player, and it's like getting to see these images of black people in old timey music, which you don't get to see very often. My library is a mess. Is it one of these? No. Anyway, but like it's just great to see old timey depictions of black people playing music and being like, oh yeah, we were there for that. You know, the narrative just got changed a little bit over time. But anyway, thanks Susan G for asking that question, giving me stuff to think about today. My roots.
Well, you know, that's happening more. You must know the fiddler from Phil Jameson. I think it's Phil Jameson. Did he write the book that really starts unwrapping more of the true history of American fiddle tunes?
I don't know this book. So I don't know.
I would have to run upstairs. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, since I think it's such an important connection for you, and maybe I have the name wrong. It's upstairs in my office. When you start Hallelujah, I'm a Bum again, I'm going to slip out for a minute and grab this book, because I think it'd be a nice resource for everybody to know about. It's a recent book that uncovers exactly the issue you just raised. So I think we should probably do another sing of your song today. And folks, try harmony. The great thing about Zoom music is you can experiment and everyone will love you for it. So
I think we're going to try and do it really fast so we can see if we can beat you before you get back.
Oh, right. Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm going to mute. You're going to take away the song, and I'll meet you back here.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Do you remember it? We don't have to go over the chorus again. This is our song. We have sung it and we have made it our own. Here we go from the top. I'll come up with a better intro right now. Rejoice and be glad, for the springtime has come. We can throw down our shovels and go on the bum. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. The springtime has come, and I'm just out of jail, without any money, without any bail. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I went to a house and I rapped on the door, and the lady says, bum bum, you've been here before. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I like Jim Hill, he's a good friend of mine. That is why I'm hiking down Jim Hill's main line. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I went to a house and I asked for some bread, and the lady says, bum bum, the breaker is dead. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. That loaf of bread got me. Bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Why don't you work like other men do? Now how can I work when there's no work to do? Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. Why don't you save all the money you earn? If I didn't eat, I'd have money to burn. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. I don't like to work, and work don't like me, and that is the reason I am so hungry. Hallelujah, I'm a bum. Hallelujah, bum again. Hallelujah, give us a handout to revive us again. And I'll say one last, great job, everybody. And I'll say one last thing is, in the song too, there's also, I don't like work. Work doesn't like me. That's why I'm hungry. But there's also kind of this rebelliousness to that as well, right? There's this way of saying like, yeah, I don't want to work. I'm a bum by choice or whatever you like, and it's hard and it sucks. But like, I find my goodness here. I'm hiking down the main line. I'm doing this and living in that way. And so, looking at that too, we look at people who, earlier this year and last year when they were like, everyone get back to work, and people were like, fuck that, or sorry, forget that, I want better wages and I want whatever. There were other people saying, oh, you're being a bum, or you're being lazy, or you're being ungrateful, or you're being all these things. And I think you can meditate on that sort of resistance you get to showing your independence or your self-worth or whatever you want to call it. So that's another reason why I
Absolutely.
think this song is great. Yeah.
Absolutely. So before I do the goodbyes and the thank you to Hubby, I did find the author is Phil Jameson. He is a marvelous fiddler and a scholar. And the book is called Hoedowns, Reels, and Frolics. I put it in the chat, and it's basically uncovering the multicultural history of American fiddle tunes and social dance. And it is a marvelous, marvelous book that will change the way you think about American musical history.
I did read that. I read that book like 10 years ago. And
There you
yeah,
go.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, good,
Yep.
good one.
I knew you would know it.
Yeah.
But
There's
I
also
really
Birth
want
of
every...
the Banjo, which I think is really good. That's more banjo focused, which I think I latched onto more as a terrible fiddler and
Yeah.
relatively decent banjo player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Hubby. It's great to meet you. And I'm going to wish everybody a good day, and I'm going to do our goodbyes. And someone has just thanked us for making a good start to their weekend and a good start for my weekend, too. So let me go to my gallery view. Gallery seems too polite a term. I call it the mob view. Look at that. There, and Hubby has found the book. It's a great book. And yes, thank you so much. Roots and Branches of Southern Appalachian Dance. Everyone who loves American traditional music should read this book. It will just broaden your understanding of who we are as a people and as a nation and as a culture. All right, so I need to go back to gallery here. All right, so it's time. I'm just going to see if I can do this again. This is so much fun. Thank you to Hubby for all you've done to inspire us. I really appreciate it. Goodbye to Annette, to Brian and Arlene. Goodbye to Becky and Martha in Oregon. Goodbye to Jenny across the pond. Goodbye to Deborah down in Kentucky. Goodbye to Dawn and the Curly Tops. Goodbye to Sheila and to Dan and Susan. Goodbye to Sarah and Cricket and Christiana. Goodbye to Bob and Bonnie in Boise. Goodbye to Jamie and Carolyn and Luda. Goodbye to Trish and Steve and Michelle. And goodbye. Oh my goodness, my screen is I can't, there we go. Goodbye to Ralph and Kevin in New Hampshire on day 748. And goodbye to Janice. Thank you for being here today. And goodbye to Jim down in New York City. Goodbye to Kathy and Ann in Maryland. Goodbye to my good neighbor Storm. Goodbye to Jane down in Texas. Goodbye to Elise, to Bob and Mabel. Goodbye to those dancing bears. Goodbye to Julia and Deli and Pauline. And goodbye to Sherry in New Hampshire. Goodbye to... my screen keeps getting obscured. Goodbye to, I think it's Rhoda and Cliff in Vermont. Goodbye to Aloysius in Massachusetts. Goodbye to Anna down at Pinewoods. Goodbye to LMG. Thanks for being here. Goodbye to Harriet and to Carol. Goodbye to Aaron, and thanks for all your great tech support. Goodbye to Bob and Kate and Fred. Goodbye to Anne and to Bob and Jane. Goodbye to Ruth, who just caught the train. Goodbye to Amos and everyone who joined us today. Thank you all for being here. And tomorrow, you'll be in for a wonderful surprise, and I think that's all I'm going to say. So we hope to catch some of you tomorrow for day 749. Thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend. We'll catch you on the next round at the Daily Antidote of Song. Thank you.
All right, Andy, I'll see you tomorrow.
I will see you tomorrow. Great. And have a lovely bike ride and a good Thai festival. That sounds awesome.